In the spring of 1975, a young man from a small town in Mississippi sat down and wrote a letter to Elvis Presley. He didn't ask for an autograph. He didn't ask for money. He didn't even ask for a reply. He just wrote to say that he was lonely. That he felt invisible. That no matter how many people were around him, he felt like not a single one of them truly understood who he was or what he carried inside. He said he figured Elvis might understand. Because maybe the most famous man in America felt the same way sometimes. He was right. Elvis read that letter 3 times. And then he did something almost nobody knew about, not his manager, not his band, not the Memphis Mafia. He wrote back. This is what he said. By 1975, Elvis Presley had everything the world told a man he was supposed to want. The mansion. The cars. The jewelry. The private jet. The sold-out shows in Las Vegas where grown men and women wept just from hearing him walk onto a stage. He was 40 years old. He had been famous for 20 years. Half his life had been lived in front of other people in arenas, on film sets, in hotel rooms surrounded by handlers and yes-men and people whose job it was to make sure Elvis Presley was never truly alone. And yet, people who knew him well really knew him, not the stage version but the man who wandered the halls of Graceland at 3 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. They all said the same thing. Elvis was one of the loneliest human beings they had ever known. Not lonely for company. He had more company than any man could want. Lonely in a deeper way. The kind of lonely that comes from feeling like nobody in the room is seeing the real you. Like you are performing even when there is no stage. Like the distance between who the world thinks you are and who you actually are has grown so wide that you have forgotten which side of it you were standing on. When a letter arrived at Graceland from a 23-year-old named James William Cooper, a young man from a farm outside of Tupelo, Mississippi, just like Elvis himself once was, something about it stopped him cold. He sat with it for 2 days. And then he picked up a pen.
Dear James, I've been carrying your letter around with me for 2 days now. Read it so many times the paper is starting to wear at the folds. I don't know exactly why it hit me the way it did. Maybe because you said it so plainly. No dramatics, no build-up. Just I am lonely and I think you might understand. You're right. I do understand. I want to tell you something that I don't say out loud very often, because when you're in my position there are very few people you can say it to without it ending up in a newspaper or being used against you somehow. But you wrote to me honest, and I think you deserve honest back. I have been lonely my entire life. I don't mean that as a complaint. I'm not asking for sympathy. Lord knows I have been given more than any one man deserves in this life. I mean it as a fact. The same way you'd say I have brown eyes, or I grew up poor. It's just something that has always been true about me, and I made my peace with it a long time ago. Mostly. I was an only child in a house that didn't have much. My daddy did his best, but there were long stretches where the world felt very far away and I felt very small inside it. I was the kid at school that other kids weren't quite sure what to do with. Too different. Too much of something they couldn't name. I didn't have a lot of friends. I had music. And I had my mama. That was enough for a long time. Then the music took off and suddenly there were people everywhere. Every room I walked into was full. Every meal had 20 people around the table. Every trip, every show, every quiet moment that used to be mine, suddenly there was somebody in it. And I want to tell you, James, that I am grateful. I am genuinely, deeply grateful for every single one of those people and what this life has given me. But here is the thing nobody tells you. You can be surrounded by people every moment of every day and still feel like a ghost in your own life. Because what I figured out slowly, painfully, over 20 years is that there is a difference between being around people and being known by them. I have been around more people than most men see in 10 lifetimes. But the number of people who have ever truly known me, who have sat across from me and seen all of it, the good and the broken and the scared and the hopeful, that number is very small. My mama knew me. She was gone before I was 23. Priscilla tried. She loved me as best she could, and I didn't make it easy. I was always somewhere else, even when I was right in front of her. I think that's one of the things loneliness does to a person. After long enough, it makes you bad at being present. You get so used to being alone inside yourself that you forget how to let someone else in, even when they're standing at the door. I think about that a lot. You said in your letter that you feel invisible. That people look at you and see whatever they want to see and not what's actually there. I want you to know I have felt that every single day of my adult life. The difference is that what people project onto me has a name and a face and a costume to go with it. But underneath all of that, the experience you're describing of standing in a room full of people and feeling like you are the only one who knows you're there, I know that feeling better than almost anything. I want to tell you what I have learned about it. Not to fix it. I don't think it can be fixed exactly. But maybe to make it a little lighter to carry. The loneliness you feel is not evidence that something is wrong with you. I spent a long time believing it was. Spent a long time thinking that if I could just get enough people to love me from enough distance, enough fans, enough applause, enough of whatever the next thing was, that hollow feeling would finally fill up. It doesn't work that way. I know that now. What I have learned is this. The loneliness doesn't go away. But it changes when you stop running from it and start getting curious about it. When you ask yourself, what is it in me that feels so unseen? What is the part of me I have never shown anyone? And then slowly, carefully you start to show it. Not to everyone. Just to one person. Then maybe two. That is the whole secret. I'm serious. That's all there is to it. Find one person you can be completely honest with and be honest with them. Not the version of yourself you think they want. Not the performance. The actual thing underneath. It is terrifying. I won't pretend it isn't. But it is the only thing I have ever found that moves that hollow feeling even 1 inch. You took a step toward that when you wrote to me. You said the real thing. You didn't dress it up. That took courage, James. More than you probably know. I am 40 years old and I am still learning how to do what you just did. Don't give up on finding your people. They exist. I promise you they exist. The world is full of people walking around feeling exactly the way you described in that letter, convinced they are the only one. You are not the only one. Not by a long way. And for what it's worth, I see you. A man I have never met, from a town I grew up not far from, who had the guts to write down the true thing and send it to a stranger. I see you just fine. Take care of yourself. Your friend. Elvis. Graceland, April 1975.
James William Cooper received that letter on a Tuesday morning in April of 1975. He has said in interviews given decades later that he read it standing at his mailbox, in his work clothes, on his way to a job he didn't much like, in a town that felt like it was slowly swallowing him whole. He said he stood there for a long time. He kept the letter in a fireproof box for the next 50 years. He showed it to his wife on their third date. He read it to his son the night before the boy left for college. He said it was the most important piece of paper he owned. Elvis Presley died 2 years later. He was 42 years old. James Cooper attended a memorial service in Memphis in August of 1977. He stood in a crowd of thousands of people, all of them grieving, and he said he felt for the first time in a very long time like he was not alone. He said that was the last gift Elvis ever gave him. If this story stayed with you, if something in that letter felt familiar, subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring you the Elvis the History Books Forgot. The man who saw people. Who stopped. Who wrote back. He deserves to be remembered whole. We'll see you in the next one.